Gang, you're in for a special treat tonight. I'm not going to be on my own channel. If the problem you've had with my channel has been me, you're set. This is the night for you. I'm going to be speaking for like 10 more seconds, and then I'm going to be leaving because Charlie took the time to enjoy Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. And I said, hey, I know that JP just got the omnibus. Do you want to talk about what you thought about it? And she said, yes. Or I bent her arm a little bit and she said, yes. So she's going to take over. I'm going to give her the headphones and I'm out of here, gang. I'm walking. I'm going to go have a night off. I'm going to go lay on the couch and watch good YouTube. So I'm leaving. We're going to change my name right here. Sorry. We're going to edit the name to Charlie's Comics. And we're gonna change that. Look, and I'm walking, and I'm gonna click on the comments over here, and you can listen to the chat, and I'm out of here. So, welcome in, Charlie. Here you
go. Hi. And we're gonna add JP in. Where's the mouse?
Hey, Charlie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am excited. I am glad that you decided you wanted to, that you enjoyed this run and that you wanted to talk about it. So this is super cool for me because
I'm really glad that my dad had me read it because it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we went to Tahoe this year for summer, and my dad brought a bunch of comics for my sister and I just kind of stole it the Nightwing one from him because I've always loved DC. And I started reading it, and then we were leaving, and I was like, Dad, do you have the next issues for this? Because I really liked it. And he was like, yeah, totally. And he just gave me the short box, and I've been reading it ever since. And I really, really liked it.
Very cool. I am always looking for other people that like Nightwing. So
well, I really, really enjoyed it. I've always been more of a DC than a Marvel, personally.
Yeah. So can I ask before we get into this run, did you have any background with this character before this?
Well, I grew up watching the Batman animated series,
right?
And he's not Nightwing really in that until the end. But
yeah, till the end.
I watched Dick Grayson as a Robin for a long time. He was the Robin I grew up with, and I didn't even know there were other Robins until way later. But I knew that, and then I've watched some of the other DC stuff, and then I've read a bunch of like old DC comics, like really old ones, and he's not often in there. Usually it's just Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had some background with it.
Okay, nice.
I think that helped me love it a little more.
Well, I would say as a longtime fan, this is the best run I think that they've ever made for me personally, and a great place to start because you get everything that is quintessential Dick Grayson in this run in terms of like how he is. So I'm looking forward to this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I loved the art. I really liked the way that it was drawn. And I just felt like even if you didn't have any background to the character, you could probably still read it and love it and catch up and get the context clues and figure everything out because it was just written super well in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with all of that. That is good. So you want to dive in here, or do you have anything you want to say about the whole thing before we start, or are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready to dive in if you are.
Okay, let's do it.
So I wanted to say, were you like surprised by like how Alfred's like death and everything, how he just kind of was like he died, and were you surprised by that? Because I started it and I was really surprised. I didn't see that. I didn't really think, oh, Alfred, like that could happen. Like Alfred died, and that's a really big impact for all the characters, and seeing how that affected Nightwing, Bruce, and all the other Bat family characters. So I thought that was really interesting. How did you feel about that?
So yeah, they had killed Alfred off a year or so before this started. So like I knew that. I had read those Batman issues and I knew that had happened. And they had done it during a period when Nightwing Dick Grayson, and you see a little bit, they refer to it a couple of times, had lost his memory. He had been injured, he had lost his memory, didn't really know who he was, and wasn't really interacting with the rest of the bats at that point. So him getting this information from Barbara is not too long after he finally got his memory back, and like he really found out and was affected just recently, even though the event had happened before. So I thought it was great that they dealt with it because he didn't get the opportunity to deal with it previously. He was not involved in that story before. So it was great that they actually had that come together.
Yeah.
Like it was deserved.
And I liked how they really showcased like Dick Grayson's relationship with Alfred, because I think a lot in the comics and in the shows and movies, they really show like Bruce's relationship with him as like his kind of dad, but they never really show like Dick Grayson also feeling like Alfred was another dad to him. I liked that the comics really showed that, because I thought that was really important to Dick Grayson's character.
Yeah, that's been for someone who's read a lot of like Nightwing, which you had, like that's been something that's been in the comics quite a bit over the years, because Dick and Bruce at different times have had rocky relationship at different times during the comics, and Alfred has always been kind of the glue that's kept them together.
Yeah,
like kept them from being too much, because they're a little bit alike, and they're a little, so Alfred has been a big part of that. So yes, for me, that's a very important relationship in his life. So I was glad that they took the time at the beginning to have that effect where this run was going and make it so their relationship be such a big part of it.
And Alfred being rich was a big surprise for me. I was like, what? I didn't really think, well, yeah, he's been working for billionaires like since forever. He was in the British Secret Service. Like, of course, he's probably been loaded since forever. So I really thought that was a cool little add-in. And then him giving almost all his money to Dick was like, whoa. I really loved that as well. What did you think about that?
I thought that was cool. I thought it made sense because like Alfred had never really needed to spend his own money on anything. And so he had invested it. And the fact that he gave it to Dick makes the most sense to me, given the way their relationship had been represented before. And so, yeah, for me, it made sense that's now the fact that he was maybe like billionaire seemed maybe a stretch compared to what we do, but it was like the fact that he was rich was not a surprise. And that the person he asked to do something with it being Dick, I thought that was a great, I thought that made all of that for me as someone who's been reading these characters a long time made sense. So.
Yeah. And then I personally want to skip over the Fear State issues because I
have one question
they weren't my
I want
favorite.
to ask you about this beginning here. We talked about it.
Yeah.
So through this first story arc, the big thing is he finds out that he's got the money, and then he decides to use it in a way that Bruce has never done before, like in terms of trying to like set up this foundation. He's making this decision. But as he's doing that, he sought advice from a lot of his different friends. You see that part of the story, but not Bruce. What did you think about like how he goes through deciding how he's going to use the money at the beginning?
Honestly, at first, it hurt a little bit because, like I said, I watched Batman animated series, and a big part of that was their relationship. Yeah. But when you see who he goes to instead of Bruce, it kind of makes sense, and you're like, okay. And Bruce has been kind of falling off the deep end a little lately, so you kind of see... Yeah, that would make sense that he would. He's always got something. So that did end up making. After finishing it, it made sense to me. Like, yeah, I could see why he would not maybe go to Bruce instead of go to these other people.
Okay, thanks. So, the other thing that I do want to there's two new additions we get at the beginning here, right off the bat, is we get Bitewing or Haley. What did you think about the addition of him getting a pet?
I love animals, so I loved that. I did not see it coming.
Yeah. Oh, you cut out for a second.
I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I didn't see it coming, and when Babs forced him to like keep her, I was like, yes. And I was super excited to see.
Forced him. She just told him the truth, which is he was always
yeah.
And whatever he was telling himself was not going to happen.
Yeah, I loved her addition to the book, and I felt like she added a little more of a fun sense to it, and I just thought it was awesome that Dick Grayson gets a dog.
Yeah, well, for me, it's not just that any story with a dog I love, but like B, I think it does help, even though he's one of the more grounded members of this group, that it did help like just ground him and ground the story. It's like, hey, this is like every day. He was having everyday things that went with it, and I thought it was a great way to do that.
Mhm.
The other thing, which we get more of because we get the reveal later, we get the reveal here is what did you think of the addition of Melinda to the universe? Because that's a completely new character. That was not something any of us knew about before the story arc.
I mean, when I first like met her, I was like, Melinda Zuko. I was like, oh no, like another Zuko. Like this is not gonna be fun. But then like seeing her like interact with Blockbuster and their whole like underground criminal gang thing, I was like, okay, she's kind of cool. Like I think she could do some awesome stuff in this story. And then finding out that she's related to Nightwing, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's even cooler than I originally thought she was. And just learning like the background of her character and her mother and how her and Dick Grayson and they all interlinked, I thought that was really, really well written. And it made all the characters have even more depth to them. And I really liked that.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't sure what I would think when I first read that. I was like, as it went, I liked it more and more. The way they did it and the way they set her up, I thought was really nice. So, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a couple things I wanted to get.
No, yeah. I was a little skeptical of her at first too, but then finding out she's like also like a double agent, I was like, okay. Yeah. She's pretty awesome. So I ended up liking that. Let's see. What did you think of Blockbuster as a villain?
So Blockbuster has been around. So the original Nightwing run from the 90s, which is when I really fell in love with the character, Blockbuster was like the main overarching criminal overlord like he is here for like the first 100 issues of that run. He was like the main background villain. So I had a lot of background with him. So I was super happy to see them bring him back. And I thought they used him pretty well here, like in terms of like him. I'm curious, as someone who didn't know who this guy was, what did you think of Blockbuster as a villain?
I felt like, first of all, he reminded me a little bit of Kingpin, but not as smart.
Definitely not as smart.
Yeah. And I don't know. At first, I thought he was really cool and really, like, I thought he was interesting as a villain for Nightwing. But then I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like if he had more brains, he would have been able to do more. But ultimately, it just felt like he didn't seem to really know what he was doing. Because he had some good ideas, but then Nightwing kept getting to him, which obviously the superhero always wins. But I just felt like Blockbuster, I feel like he could have done a little bit more. What did you think?
I would agree. I enjoyed them bringing him back. I thought overall he was used pretty well. He was a little less. He was easier manipulated and tricked than he was previously, like the previous version I've seen. But he was never as smart as like the Kingpin. He was never the master. It was more brute force through power than it was, master plans. So, but I did think he was a little bit lesser than he was before, but I still thought it was pretty good, well done, given that he was kind of being used as one of two kind of overarching villains here. So I thought it worked.
Yeah, I did too. I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like the not being as smart thing got to me a little bit. I would have liked to see him be a little more tactical and. Yeah.
No, I totally get that. And that's totally one of the big weaknesses of the character just in general. So.
And then I just didn't like his hair. That was another thing. I thought his hair was not.
The weird mullet thing.
It was not. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah. He's not stylish.
No. So. The villain I liked much more was Heartless. I really liked Heartless. I thought, way from the beginning, I always love having a villain who you don't know who they are. You just know like their villain persona. I always love that.
Yeah.
And so when I first saw him, I was like, oh, I already know I'm going to love this guy. And then his whole thing of like stealing people's hearts and only going after people who actually like have a heart was so cool to me. I loved that. And anytime he popped up in the end of a comic, I'd be like, yes. Like more of him. Like he's really, really like one of the my favorite villains.
Yeah, he was a new addition, and I thought he was really well set up through the early parts of this story arc in terms of making him menacing, like you said, making it a mystery who he was, like giving him a unique trait of like he was stealing these people's hearts because he was like using them, like, and he was looking for people that had something to lose or that, so I thought that was a super effective, like you said, because he kept showing up at the end of issues and and taking people out, and it was it was menacing and really well set up through the early part of the story, I thought.
And I liked that it was more, we knew everything that was going on with him, but Nightwing necessarily didn't. So we'd see him like steal a heart and we know, oh, it's heartless. But Nightwing would be dealing with, who is this new villain? What do they look like? What is their memo? And we'd be knowing everything. I liked that as well. Nice. I thought that was a good detail. Let's see. What did you think of his backstory, though? Heartless's backstory.
That they had a relationship, that they were, that he was basically a child psychopath.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I felt like it in the end it weakened him a little bit, because it did make him a little less, that he was just a crazy person, made it a little less effective than when he was initially set up. But I mean, I still think he was an effective villain. It was interesting that he had a tie to both Dick and Nightwing in this way, and that so I thought it was good. It just was like the motivation behind what he was doing was a little bit like, oh, I'm just like, that I always find that the cackling, I'm just evil, a little less interesting than when there's more nuanced motivation than what he had. So that from that standpoint, whereas the setup was super great, I thought when it went to no, he's just evil guy. I was like, okay. And he was raised by somebody who was a complete psychopath, like the opposite of Alfred kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you feel that way, because that's how I felt reading it. And when it was like, oh, he's this little creepy kid who was happy that these guys died right in front of him at the circus.
See people die, and he thought that was cool.
And he's not changed since then. He's grown up to be exactly the same. I didn't like that as much. No. I think it would have been cooler if it wasn't. He's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I loved that part of it. But I'm glad they gave us at least a background of him.
Yes.
Because that, you don't always get that with villains. Sometimes you just get thrown into them. So I'm glad that they at least let us kind of see things from his point of view.
For sure.
And I did think that it was like, what? He saw Dick Grayson's parents and all that go down? Like, geez. And then seeing his little kid, and his Alfred is like crazy and just does whatever he says and has raised him to be a terrible person. It was like Dick Grayson from another universe, but he's evil.
Yeah. I mean, you get to see the one, I don't remember which issue it's in, where he comes out of he was at the circus when it happened. He comes out and he's all like, it was great. And Alfred just looking at these people like crazy. And then you see Bruce come out and how he reacted and end up taking Dick in. So it was, a dark Alfred for sure.
Yes, I saw that. I was like, ooh, okay, don't love that guy.
Okay. You want to jump back into, you said, did you have anything on Fear State you wanted to talk about, or did you want to go to the Get Grayson stuff?
Not really. I just liked that we got to see Tim and Steph and Cass. I liked that part of it. That was a good, I think, tie-in.
Yeah, I always enjoy when we get the Cass and Tim and stuff, so for sure.
And they've got good dynamics, so it's fun to see that work out.
So the next part of the thing is he had set up is the Get Grayson, and basically we get the kind of dynamic that the villains are hunting Dick Grayson and not Nightwing. At this point. So what did you think of that twist on the Dick Grayson's the one in danger, not Nightwing?
I liked it because it's fun to see. I personally liked seeing Dick Grayson more as Dick Grayson than him as Nightwing doing fighting scenes. I like seeing Dick Grayson just living his life and seeing how things go for him. So I liked being able to see more of him as Dick Grayson. And I just felt that when it's Nightwing, the villains don't always know as much, but when it was Dick Grayson, it was they know everything about him and they're tracking him. And I thought that was really cool. And then to see that even as Dick Grayson, you can't get him. he always wins, even as Dick
Yeah.
Grayson. He doesn't need the mask.
Yeah, it was a fun of like he kept getting saved by because the Flash or whoever shows up.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, we still can't get this guy because he's
Yeah.
just a guy. So, what did you think of the use of here? We get quite a bit starting here and then through later of the use of all his friends. Like not just do we get like the Bats, but we get the Titans and we get
Yeah.
what did you think of like how they use his friends?
Well, I always love Wally. I've always loved Wally West. So I loved getting to see him and Dick's like dynamic. I've loved their relationship as best friends. So I was really, really excited when I got to see him. And then the Teen Titans I thought was a fun tie-in because like the idea of having them move to Bloodhaven and them being like now they're going to be there and they're going to be the superheroes there, and then also them being now like the biggest team on the planet right now because the Justice League has been like disbanded. So I liked the use of them and I liked seeing them more as adults because usually when you see the Teen Titans, they're more like teenagers, but now they were a little more grown up, and seeing how they work together without Dick Grayson was really interesting and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
What did you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I've always been a fan of the Titans. I love the Titans. I loved the couple of issues where it was really Wally Dick focused. We don't get that a ton, and they're supposedly best friends and stuff. And whenever we get that, those issues are almost always great. I would say that I felt I would have liked a little more from the others, other than just them like helping take out bad guys. And I would have loved a little more just Titans dynamic conversations with them, like that we got with Wally and we got with Barbara through a lot of this. You talked about the downtime when he was Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
I would have loved a little more of that with Corey or Donna or, or Vic or, just any of them. I would have liked a little more of that. We really just mostly got it with Wally, but it's still, it's always fun when they're together. So.
Yeah, especially Donna, because him and Donna have also been very close friends in the comics before.
Yeah, there's a panel I love early on that like, and I wish we'd gotten more of him and Donna like you. That would have been the one that I would have probably asked for the most because their friendship doesn't always get covered the way it should. And I thought we were going to get, because early on when they think he's in trouble with his sister and they're all coming to rescue him, and then Barbara like calls him off when he calls them all off.
Yeah.
Like everyone else turns and goes. And Donna, you see the panel is Donna still like sitting there like, do I go or do I?
Yeah.
Like she's not sure if she should leave him just yet. So I just enjoyed that she was the one that was like, I don't know. Like I'm not going to check on him. So.
And I liked how fast they all got there. That also was really like that. You see how much Dick means to everyone and how big of a difference he has to people. But we did see a lot of Beast Boy in the Beast World tie-in, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And I liked it only because I'm very partial to Damian Wayne. I love Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
And any comic with him, I just want to read it. So I liked his part of it, but ultimately I just thought it was kind of crazy. And I liked getting like John Kent. That was a fun part of it as well. But the whole story of it, I was like, okay, I feel like I could have skipped this and been fine.
Yeah, so it was like a 2-part crossover. I don't know if your dad had the Omni included the Superman issue that goes with it. So without that, that might have been confusing if you didn't have both issues, what was going on there. I don't remember which one's which, but yeah. So that was like a 2-issue story instead of just a 1-issue story.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we did have it, but yeah, I just thought, I was like, okay, I could see how like this is kind of fun to have like Beast Boy be a big part of it. And have John Kent and Damian Wayne again. But ultimately I was kind of like, I could have skipped this and been fine probably.
Yeah. There's a few add in, you get that with any kind of run like this because they have events, and so they have to like have it touch on Nightwing, and so it takes you away from the story a little bit. Jump back to because we kind of skipped ahead to the Titan stuff, but the end of the first part of the arc, which is where we get the final kind of showdown between Dick and Blockbuster. What did you think of just how the stuff wraps up with Blockbuster and sets up Heartless for the end of the run? What did you think of like the way that's handled?
I didn't like how Blockbuster died. I liked that he died. I just didn't like how it happened. I felt like even though his thing is he's obviously not brains, he's brawn. So the idea that like he went up against Heartless and like didn't even really put up a fight. Granted, he was like beaten up from everything with like all the fire and all that stuff with Nightwing. But I would have liked to see him put up a little more of a fight against Heartless. Yeah. But I mean, and then him having a giant heart, I was like, oh my goodness, wow.
Like, he's a big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the giant jar is always in like the background whenever you see Heartless's office. But I felt like his death was a little rushed in my opinion. I would have liked to see it maybe take a little more time, or just see him go to jail and have to pay for everything. That obviously would have been a little satisfying, but I was glad that he died. I was happy that he was done out of it.
Yeah.
So I was really worried about him for a little bit.
Yeah, it was nice that he didn't. I mean, I would have liked him to stick around a little bit more, like gone to, gotten captured, or at least put up a fight against Heartless. I get that he was being used mostly to set up Heartless as the main threat, but it was a little anticlimactic when it got to that moment. Like, it was like, oh, it's just over. It's like, wait.
Yeah.
He wasn't really even a threat to Heartless, but I guess was trying to make Heartless a bigger threat, but it would just seem it was quick for sure. So I agree. If
it had been maybe like Blockbuster puts up a little bit of a fight and then Heartless still beats him, maybe it would have made Heartless look a little more menacing. Yeah. But it just felt like he shoots him whatever and turned the page and it ended and I was like, oh, I guess Blockbuster's dead now. Okay. Yeah. I just didn't really expect it. I didn't think it was going to end that fast for him. But was glad that it did because I was really worried that something was going to happen with him and Dick Grayson or Babs. I was really worried about that because she got kidnapped.
Yes.
We saw her get kidnapped, and then Wally and Dick had to save her.
So what did you think of the whole... So she gets kidnapped. She because they don't know who she is really. So she's still got the ability to talk to him. So it's like, I'm kidnapped. She's like, I'm about to escape. And they're like, wait, stay there so we can find you. And turn the tables on them. And just the whole way they that it's like, oh, I'm captured.
Yeah. Like, oh no. I hope there's no superheroes that can hear me and come save me.
Yeah. So
I thought that was really funny. And I liked that they showed because if a superhero gets kidnapped, it's just like, okay, I can fight all you guys. And they don't realize we have a superhero who has superhero friends that can come, beat us up. They didn't think about that. Yeah. And I liked that part of it. I thought it was kind of oh, that's funny. Get to see how they interact with something that traumatic happening to them. And they're like, doesn't even matter. Getting kidnapped.
Yeah, so.
I liked that part of it. What did you think? Because I know my dad and I talked about this, but what did you think about the pirate storyline?
Okay, so the pirate storyline is focused very much on B, who was a character that came up during the period, entered the Nightwing story during the period when he'd lost his memory. So, which they referenced that she dated him or whatever. And I despise those books because of the way they treated him as a character. So I have a negative feeling toward her as a character. Having said that, I thought she was used pretty well here, but I felt like these stories were, I don't know, I felt like it was wandering a little bit in terms of we were kind of off the main arc, and it was fun, it was good, but I was mostly like, okay, can we get back to the Heartless stuff? Can we get back to the stuff kind of is where I was at on it.
Yeah, that's where I was too for most of it. And I don't know, obviously I don't have the background of knowing about his whole losing his memory and getting shot. I know that he went by Rick Grayson, which I thought was no, okay. Yeah, but I don't know. I thought meeting her and kind of learning, obviously having no idea of anything about her in the past and just meeting her in this comic, I thought she was a really interesting character because she's got this whole background of she's the captain of the keep and
they definitely made her way more interesting here. Because we didn't get any of that before. It was just she was a bartender and they were dating, and she was she wasn't bad, a bad character in any way. She didn't have nearly this much depth that they gave her, and it was just she was part of a story arc that I didn't like. So it was I didn't invest in her before. So I do think it made her a much more interesting character to read about and have maybe going forward as someone that they interact with. But so it kind of redeemed her as a character, but it still was just like, it was fine, but it didn't like, it wasn't, I wasn't necessarily in love with those stories, but I do think it was fun to get another side of like Bloodhaven and get some different history and some different things there. So from that standpoint, it was good.
And then learning about like this whole other world that these pirates live in that nobody even knows about. I thought that was really interesting. And then having her fight with her brother, that part of it, I wasn't a huge fan of because, again, I was just like, can we get back to Heartless? Like, I want to know what's going on with him. And where's Barbara? Because I love Barbara. So I was like, can we have her in on this? So that part of it, I was kind of like, okay, can we wrap it up? Like, can we just move past this now and get back to Bloodhaven? But I did like that I got to see, like, his past, Dick's past, and everything that happened with that. And then we also got more introduced with his, like, vertigo and his, like, fear now of not being able to jump. No. So what did you think about that tie-in, that storyline?
I will admit, like, that I didn't, when it first came out, I was like, wait, what is this? It felt like it came out of nowhere a little bit. Mm-hmm. On the reread, it's actually like when I read it again for us to talk, and I'm like, oh, it's actually like knowing it was going to happen. You could see a couple of things. It was like, oh, it was set up a little better than I realized the first time. Yeah. But like I do think it was an interesting way to weaken him as they get like to create a weakness because he is so fearless when it comes to, and always has been because of who he is and his background. Yeah. It comes to just like. You know, there's all these great panels and stuff over the years of him basically parkouring through like buildings and off the top and down and all these staircases because he just goes because you know, he can do all of this, that being the acrobat, being the, you know, flying Grayson, like, and then with the training of Batman, he can literally just, you know, get down from anything and get wherever he wants. And so to take that from him, I did think was an interesting twist on like giving him a weakness that is something that's always been a strength. Like, it's who he is, really, even like being able to do that. So,
when it first happened, you know, he jumps up onto the side of the ship and just can't jump in. I finished that comic and then I had to go back and like reread because I was so like, what? Where did this come from?
Which was me the first time.
So I had to go back and I was like, what? He can't, like, why can't he jump? And I was not a big fan of it. And then after learning where it all came from, I was like, oh, okay, so I see. But in the beginning, I was like, what is this? What is the storyline? Why is this happening? Yeah. Like, I'm so sick of it. But again, rereading it, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And I like the way they set this up. And it adds more character to Heartless.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so this actually works better than I originally had thought. Yeah. And I think I let my biased feelings of loving Dick Grayson get in the way of that.
Yeah. I mean, really I was very similar on the first read. I'm like, what? Like, this is who he is. What are you doing? But like on the reread, it works well because it is such a fundamental part of him. To take that from him for a while, to make him have to overcome that I did think was super interesting. So,
and I really liked it, and I thought. Like, rereading it, I really liked it. No. But I thought it was permanent. I was like, oh my God, is Dick never going to be able to jump again? How is he going to be Nightwing? And then when he got over it, I was like, okay, this is not permanent. Yeah. He's going to be normal again. He will be the regular Nightwing. So I was really happy that happened.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. During this period, we get the reintroduction of his original villain, for the lack of a better term, which is Tony Zuko comes back into the picture during this part of the book and is kind of the other villain in the second half of this book in terms of, obviously, the person that thought he was Melinda's father, or at least that's the name she'd had for a long time, and obviously the person that killed his parents. What did you think of the use of Zuko in the second half of this story?
I just really hate that guy. I've always hated him. Like, I really, really hate him, especially finding out, like, he not only killed, like, the Graysons, but also he did all this terrible stuff to Melinda's mom.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, like I thought I hated him and now I hate him even more. So when he came back and he's just here, I was like, can we just like get him out of here? Like, can Heartless just come get this guy already? Like, why is he back? Like, why can't he just leave?
Yeah.
But I did think that he did add stuff to the story. And when he got arrested, I was like, finally, like he's gone.
Yes.
He's gone. And then him getting out again, I was like, oh my goodness, can we just get rid of him? Like I thought he was contained and now he's back.
Yeah.
I didn't
He's
like
a bad
that.
penny. He just kept coming back into the story.
Yeah, I always really hated him. So I was like, oh.
Yeah. He's always interested. It's an interesting I thought it was interesting because even in this, he's always been sort of incompetent, like evil, but sort of incompetent. And like the fact that they brought him back in and he was still sort of incompetent, yet he kept, like you said, kind of getting away with it and getting propped up by Heartless or others that like kept him kind of in the story. But it was nice to see him sort of get at the end, finally get his comeuppance a little bit. But yeah, it definitely took longer than it's like, oh, get rid of this guy.
Yeah, like why is he back? He doesn't really do anything. He's just like he's not as menacing as he wants to be or he thinks he is. So I was like,
okay.
Oh.
Well, we're basically to the final arc. There's a couple things that. So, what that I wanted to touch on before we got there? We've talked about Bitewing. We have not talked about Nightmite. What did you think of him getting his own imp?
I like barely remembered Batmite, so I had to like go back on my phone and like research him because I did remember him, but not really.
Yeah.
So I reread a bunch of Batmite stuff, and then I read the issue with Nightmite, and I was like, I like Nightmite more because I liked the way that he worked with Nightwing.
Right.
And at first I was like, why is he here? What was the reason? Like, okay, he's just here. But I was kind of cool to see Nightwing have a mite. I thought that was really cool. So I ended up liking it in the end. But to start, I was just kind of like, why?
So
he's just annoying.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Mixie, obviously Superman's antagonist, or Batmite. I've never been like, oh, these guys are interesting. So when he showed up, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it was not as bad as I feared it was going to be. It was fun. They did make him less, whereas like Mixie is completely an antagonist, like trying to mess with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And Batmite's like a fan, but is always like making things a mess harder. This one was at least like trying to like help in some ways, even though he was sort of making things harder. But so I found him less annoying than the other two. But so like, okay,
he's definitely my favorite of them. But I was just kind of like, yeah, you're cool, and your storyline was heartwarming, but we're done. Like you can.
The only moment I really enjoyed was like, we got to see Bitewing as actually Bitewing as like superpower.
Yeah.
And then, but also when he like, it's like, oh, well, we'll just get you guys married or whatever. And he brings all the other heroes there. And like Batman is there. And Bat's like, he's like, and Dick's like, wait, he was really here?
Yeah. I thought that was really funny. And when they threw in the idea of like, oh yeah, let's get you guys married, I was like, haha. And then I turned the page and I'm like, oh my God, he actually is getting them married. Like she has a whole like wedding outfit. Like, okay, wow.
So
I did like that he was pro Babs and Dick. I did like that.
Yeah.
That was a thing I liked. And then I don't know if my dad put it on the thing, but there was the storyline with like the demon guy. He was like granting wishes for people. I liked that Dick got powers for a little bit. That was kind of cool to see him as like a superhero, like a really super powered hero. I thought that was kind of cool, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like Nightwing. It didn't feel like Dick Grayson.
So yeah, I didn't like that particular story. I felt like the Neuron, however you say his name, who's like basically a version of the devil in DC Universe, and has a history like of basically in the early 90s, they had a big event where he like upgraded a bunch of villains, gave them more power than they'd had previously. Blockbuster was one of them. So that was part of the story, like of how Blockbuster actually went from just a big thug to smart enough to be a, you know, a power, and still not that smart, but so there was a history there, but that was one of the weaker things, because I didn't truly understand, like, his motivation seemed weird, and why did he give him powers, and it just didn't. I don't know. That was a little weird. I would agree with you there.
No, and then having like basically another Raven, like a demon daughter, like she, or not kind of, but she had like her soul sold to another demon, and then trying to like catch her and keep her safe, and then them trying to like chase her and whatever. That part kind of felt, for me, I was kind of like, okay, like, again, like, I find it interesting. I'm not gonna not think it's interesting, but I don't love it. I don't feel the need to have this as a storyline. I just feel like it's not for me. But I did like seeing Dick Grayson as a superpowered hero. That part was something I liked from that storyline.
That was cool. Yes.
I thought it was cool. And I liked how everyone's reaction to seeing him like fly. They were like, whoa, you can fly. He's like, I'll explain later.
Like, yeah.
I like that.
It's your turn. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I like that part. So that I think I really enjoyed.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to cover before we get to the final story arc?
I don't think so. I think we covered all the tie-ins that I enjoyed and the ones I didn't enjoy. So I think we got to it. I think that's
okay.
Yeah.
Did you read the annuals?
I didn't.
You did not.
I don't think I did. Mm-mm.
Okay. So I didn't know if you'd read the annual or not, because there's one of the annuals was with him and Red Hood, and I didn't know if you'd read that one. That would be the.
No, I don't believe I did.
Okay. So it's not technically. I mean, it's part of the run, but not part of the run kind of thing. It's like extra. So okay.
Yeah.
So we get the final Fallen Grayson storyline. So what was your thoughts here? We get the culmination of him not being able to like do, you know, he's got the vertigo, he can't jump, and he also gets framed. What did you think about this as you're reading through it?
Oh my. Well, when I first started reading it and he's like on a mountain, I was kind of like, okay, where are we? When are we? What's going on? He has a beard. What's happening?
Yeah.
And then seeing him get framed, I was like, ooh, okay. So what's going on there? And I was a little upset that everybody was so, not like the Bat family, but the civilians of Bloodhaven were so quick to kind of be like, some of them were so quick to be like, yeah, he did it. And it was like, okay, but you know Dick Grayson, like he's done all this amazing stuff and you're so quick to immediately like turn on him. I didn't like that part.
No.
But I liked seeing Deadman. I liked him.
Yes.
I thought he was kind of a fun addition to it because he's climbing and we're like, where's he going? Who's he going to see? And then he pops up and you're like, oh, hey, like you're kind of interesting. I like you. So I liked his tie-in, and I liked seeing Dick really push himself to find out what his problem is, and really like looking back and finding out what Heartless did to him and that he knows. And all of that, I liked that part. And I just, at first I didn't like it, like most of the times, at first I didn't like it. And then finishing it and rereading it, I was like, oh, this actually is a really, really well written, and I really like how they did this. What did you feel about it?
I thought it was really, really well done. I thought, you know, they did a good job at the beginning of raising the stakes, both in terms of his ability to even be a hero, and then with being framed, and then how he like kind of has to find a way to push through it. I like the use of Boston, of Deadman in this. I thought he was really well done. So I really enjoyed it. I thought they handled it well. I loved that we got to see Bruce in the Nightwing costume.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I loved that. I saw him and I was like, oh my gosh. Bruce is Nightwing. And it makes sense because obviously, you know, they got to keep up, like Nightwing's still here and all that. Keep the hope up. But I was like, yes, this is amazing. We need more of this. We need more of Bruce as Nightwing. And then Dick coming back and seeing Bruce as Nightwing was just awesome in there. A little interaction, loved all of that. Absolutely adored that. That was a good little like add-in. I loved that. I was really, really excited. And I think when I read it, I showed my dad, and then just I loved it. It was
No,
the
it was
best
the
thing they
fact
could
that
have
they
done.
did that was so good, and I love the. What did you? One of my favorite parts of this though is there is the conversation of like when he figures out what like how he got like poisoned in the first place, and he tells Barbara, and her reaction to wait, she's like, he gave you water and you drank it. Like,
Yes,
and
yeah. Go ahead.
and he's like, it was hot. I was thirsty. Like,
Yes. And when I was reading it, the original issue, not like the flashback, when I was reading it and he drinks the water, I was like, why are you drinking that? Don't drink that.
yes,
I didn't think that it would have precautions because it didn't. So at the time it didn't. So I was like, okay, it doesn't matter. But in the moment I was like, why are you drinking anything they give you?
Yes.
Just set it down. Don't drink it.
These are bad people. He's just like, God, it was,
He's like, it was hot. I was thirsty. I just fought all these bad guys. I was like, oh, Dick, no. Why? It was very obvious that you should not do that.
A little too trusting sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, just a tiny bit. Oh my God, yeah, I remember reading that, and just being like, "Oh no, why did you drink that?" And then when we found out that's how it all started, I was like, I was right. Don't drink it. It did mean something. I wasn't crazy.
Evil CEO facing that offers a superhero something to drink, and you drink it. What are you
No.
So.
And why would he offer you something to drink? They never offer you anything unless it's gonna hurt you somehow, because they don't want to give you anything.
Yes. I did enjoy that. So what did you think after he like finds his way through his problems when he returns, that he initially faces down Heartless as Dick Grayson not as Nightwing? What did you think about that?
I felt like that really showed his growth. And I think because in the beginning, when he has to do his whole speech, right, to talk about the Alfred Foundation, we really see him like scared to be Dick Grayson, because he's more confident hiding behind the mask. And so at the end, when he's facing off as Dick Grayson, we really see that he's grown to be like, I'm not going to hide behind the mask anymore. I'm just as strong as Dick Grayson as I am Nightwing. And there's no reason I shouldn't be able to show that. And I really liked how they did that. I thought that was good growth, good writing, all of it. I really enjoyed it. How did you feel about it?
You summed it up really well, because it is, it much like for most of his, like, he's more Dick Grayson than Bruce is Bruce Wayne. Like, Bruce is mostly Batman and pretends to be Bruce Wayne. And Dick has always been more balanced than Bruce has been, but he's still more Nightwing than Dick Grayson a lot of the times. And I thought, given the way this arc had been, and it had been very much about Dick Grayson trying to make a difference in a way that Nightwing couldn't, that having him at the end, at least initially, obviously the fight, he's Nightwing, but like for the initial like showdown, that he comes out as Dick Grayson and like basically ends Heartless's campaign. He doesn't capture him at that point, but ends it as and Haley was there to help. He comes out as the guy and not the superhero to actually defeat Heartless in that moment. I thought was really, really it was important for character growth. I thought it worked really well. So I'm glad
and it was a good way to show Dick being like, I am also Dick Grayson and I'm Nightwing, and I want to show that I can be both, and I'm just as strong as Dick Grayson as I am Nightwing. And I liked that. I liked how they did that. I thought that was good for him.
Okay.
So I personally really enjoyed it.
I guess the end is just, what did you think about like how they handle the very end of Heartless and stuff? Did you like that? Not like that? What did you think? That we got the beginning of Heartless and we got an end that he didn't get captured. He died. What did you?
Yeah. I kind of hoped he would live to kind of have more. I mean, they are always bringing comic book characters back. Right. So, but I kind of had hoped that it'd be like a Tony Zuko thing where like he gets captured and then he gets out.
Yeah.
And then we got to deal with him again. Because I really feel like we could have had more of him. And granted, he was kind of crazy and I didn't like that part of him, but I did like him. I did like him as a villain. I thought, I really was hoping that he could be like a fun nemesis of Nightwing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of bummed they killed him, but I mean, like I said, they always bring people back, so maybe he'll come back one day and we'll get to
Probably,
see him
because this story was not the first time Blockbuster had died. So
Yeah.
so we'll see. But yeah, I was a little surprised that they took that Taylor introduced Heartless and then ended Heartless, but I also see as a writer why you would do that. And then the way the story had kind of played out, given that he knows who he is at this point, that it made sense, but I was a little surprised. So
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I really thought it was going to end with either Heartless getting captured and then getting out, or Heartless like getting away somehow. And then like us ending it with like seeing him planning something big and new, and then that was how it was going to end.
Yeah.
But I guess, I could see how as a writer, you'd kill him off, but I was really hoping we could have more with him, but what are you going to do?
All right. So I think we're into the only thing we've touched on a little bit that we haven't, that's a huge part of this book that we haven't really talked about is in depth, is the relationship with Barbara. What did you think about them as a couple and how they're handled, and what did you think about their relationship? And did you know that it's been an on and off, will they, won't they, for a long, long, long time?
I did. So again, I started off with Batman animated series, and she is in that, and they do have like dating whatever in that.
Yeah.
So I grew up with like, oh, they're like, it's them forever. But then I recently found out about like Corey and all that, and there's obviously now B. So I've always been very partial to Barbara because I grew up with her, so I've always really liked her. I do really like Corey.
I'm not partial to Barbara at all.
Yeah, I can see that. But I do like Corey. I think in certain, like in the movies, they work really well.
Yeah.
But I really liked Barbara in this, and I liked how they worked together. And we got to see in one of the earlier issues, in Fear State, actually, we got to see some flashbacks of him still being Robin and her being Batgirl, and them working together when they were younger. And I thought that was a really like fun way to see them when they were younger. And then I loved them. I loved how everything worked with them. I thought I loved their dialogue. It felt very real. It didn't feel like boring or too like romantic, whatever. Yeah. So I liked how they were written, and I felt like I liked how it ended with them still being. And I always loved Barbara, so I was really happy that she got to be with him again. What did you think about her?
I am a Dick and Barbara fan. That's the relationship that I like. Corey's fine, but I like those two together more. And I love the way it was handled here. I thought it was handled really well. Obviously, it's comics, and they've kind of danced around it for a very, very long time. But I loved. There were several scenes that were just, perfect for me. The scene early when where he's being interrogated by the detectives, and they're like, "What is the nature of your relationship?" And he's like, "Well, I've been wondering that myself, but I didn't want to try to talk it out under interrogation." Yeah. And, and they're, the look on their faces. And at one point he says, like, during the book, he says, "I love you." And they're both like, and he's like, "Oh, crap."
What? Yeah.
They both make the face, and then, how they react to Nightmite putting them in the tux, and like them getting married, and they're both like, "Oh, wait, no, we're not married." No. But then how they're just always there for each other, like when they need to be. And, she calls him on his BS after the whole thing with Blockbuster. And, so I thought it was handled really well. Yeah. I obviously appreciate them.
And then in Fear State, where both of their biggest fears is each other dying. Yeah. I thought that was like, oh, come on. Like, that was perfect. That's good. I like that. And jump off track real quick. In Fear State, when we see like Barbara's thing and we see him get shot, I genuinely thought he got shot. Yeah. And it's like the first few issues that I'm reading, and I'm like, he's dead already? What am I reading this for? And then I was like, oh, okay.
Well, and him getting shot in the head is what happened when he got lost his memory and stuff. So so that was why that was so present for her. And,
But that was kind of a duh. Obviously, he's not really dead. Yeah. But I liked that aspect of their relationship. That was both of one of their greatest fears was each other dying. and not being able to help. So I liked that, and I thought that was a cute little add-in for them. So I think they were handled really well, and I'm really glad that it was him and Barbara and not him and Corey. Because, like you said, I personally like them better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that
I think they fit a little better, but that's just me. But
yeah, and they've got, like, you know, they knew each other when they were younger. And if you haven't seen the animated series, I don't know if you have, but if you haven't,
I've seen
I really liked that version of them as well, because I thought they also handled it really well in that story.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm really glad that it was her.
All right. Well, let's see. Other final thoughts here. We talked a little bit about it. What did you think of the Bruno Redondo art throughout the series? Like,
I loved
him
it.
as an artist, and just
absolutely loved it. I was kind of upset when I would see a comic and it wasn't his art. I'd be like, okay, does he come back? Like, is he gone forever? But I just like the way he draws. Everything is so sharp. And just the way that he draws, like, action scenes, I love that. Like, all the flips, you really get to see their movements. And his, like, full page scenes of action scenes where it's like, Nightwing's over here, and then he goes here, and then he's over there, and you really can follow him. I loved how that was drawn, and I just loved his art. I loved how he drew Babs. I loved all their costumes, how their costumes looked. I just absolutely adored it.
So, yeah, he's got, like, in the back of the Omni, like, they have... like him, like pages of him going through like his different designs of what he was going to do, like trying to figure out how he wanted Nightwing to look. And it's all just like very subtle differences, but gloves and everything else, and like his process. And it goes on for like, because that was like, it starts like here, and it's like 3 or 4 pages of you know, of him, and then it switches to him like trying to figure out what he was going to do with her costume, and he's got, you know, multiple pages and multiple designs of her through the thing, and so yeah, I'm a huge fan of his art. The other thing the Omni has, which is just the first half of the series, but let me get to, like, it has for all of his like covers, it has like all his, like, it gives you behind the covers, it gives like his different like steps and him thinking about different designs before he comes up with the final cover. And so that was super cool to get some of that, because I'm a big fan of his art. Like, I'm a huge fan. So
yeah, we did get some of the showing how he does the covers in the comics. We got some of that, and a few of the issues I would see it and I'd be like, oh, that's cool, we got that little detail. But yeah, I loved how he did it. I liked how he drew Barbara's costume, because I'm used to seeing her with like a tiny little cape, and I like that she got like a full outfit. And I love her. Cape. I love her in the purple. I do like the purple and yellow look. And I'm used to seeing her in like the black and blue. So I liked seeing the purple and yellow, because that feels more Batgirl to me.
Yes. Yeah. So there's got to be a little purple. It's got to have a little purple. That's Batgirl. It's, you know, it's got to have the, for sure. And
it's her style on the Batman costume.
Yeah.
So I love that he added that for her, because I've always loved that costume. And yeah, the art was awesome. And Tom Taylor's the writer, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I liked how he wrote it. I haven't read a lot of his stuff, but I really liked this. I really liked this story, how he did it. Everything.
I will make a recommendation, and I think your dad has. I think he has the Omni. He might not. He also wrote one of my favorite runs. He wrote All New Wolverine with Laura Kinney. It's a Marvel book, but I'm a huge fan of that. So I will. Yeah. Like, I think he has all of those. So, that's like my second favorite Taylor thing that he's written. So for me.
And I love Laura Kinney. I always thought she was pretty cool.
So, and maybe you've read some of that. You might have already read some of that. I don't know for sure. So, because I think he's had that. So
yeah.
Well, that was cool. What did you think of they do a couple of experimental things with the art in this book, and we kind of skipped over it, which is the one issue that's the one long panel.
Yes.
Like, they actually they had it like as one long panel. You could see it where he drew it as one long panel. It's like one piece of paper. What did you think of that? And then they also did a POV issue where it's all from Dick's point of view. What did you think of those two issues? Just something a little different.
I was really excited for the all like one page. I was really excited for that, because my dad had told me about it previous to
Yeah.
reading it, he was like, oh, there's these 2 issues you're gonna love, like the art's really cool in it. So I was really excited when I opened the book and saw that, and I was like, oh, it's this issue, like yes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool because I'd never seen that in a comic before.
I
I'd
don't
never
think
really
anybody's
seen
ever
like
done it. Yeah.
I'd never seen like an artist experiment like that before. And the way that he did it, I thought was just perfect. And I liked, like, you know, the way, like I said, when he does action scenes, he does flips, you can like see like the faded version of like how he did the flip. And I just thought it was really well done. And personally, I liked the POV one more.
Yeah.
I just like the way that's drawn. And I like the idea that we get to see everything through Nightwing's eyes. I love that. I've never seen that in a comic before either. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool. Like artists experimenting like that. I'd never seen that.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
really,
those were
really liked it.
pretty big risks. Like especially
Yeah.
the one panel, but all of it was both of them were pretty big risks.
Yeah.
And I thought they pulled it off extremely well. So
Yeah.
and I mean
I
it takes
loved
a
it.
little bit of the writer like helping you do that. Like the writer has to like give you something that you could do that for and like to do it that way. And I thought they did a really great job on that. So
No, and I loved it. And I got, like I said, I got so excited when I would open my book and see that. The POV one, obviously the cover is, you can kind of tell, okay, this is that one. But the other one, I didn't know that was going to happen. I opened it and I was like, yes. And I showed my dad and he was like, oh, you're gonna really love that comic. And I just adored it. Absolutely.
Sweet.
And yeah, and I'd never seen, because obviously I don't read as much comics, but I'd never really seen artists take liberties like that and experiment, and it turned out amazing. I'm really glad he did that. And yeah, I'd never seen that before, so I was pleasantly surprised to see that.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool. I thought they did it. Yeah, those were both really cool. So I'm glad you liked those. I guess the last thing I had for you is just, and what do you feel about Nightwing as a hero? What do you feel about this world that they built around him at this point? You know, What'd you think at the end of this?
I like I said in the beginning, I've always loved Dick Grayson. He's always been one of my favorites because he is arguably the favorite. And he's always proving how good he is. He's always proving how truly like good inside he is. How he's really a hero. He is hope. Like he always proves that in every comic, every TV show, every movie. It's always just showing how amazing he is and how just great of a hero he is. And I was really happy how this ended and how this comic book, how this series was written. And I felt like at the end we could see that even more, how amazing Dick Grayson is and how even though everything he's gone through in the story, he continues to come out of it being just as great, if not better.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to talk about this, but we got to see him mentor John Kent.
Yeah.
And I love that because if you want a superhero mentor, it should always be Dick Grayson because he turned out so great.
Yeah.
His values, everything about him as a hero is amazing. And like I said, he's truly good.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited. I was like, good, because if he could spread that, if every hero could be like Dick Grayson, I would be really happy.
Yeah. So you touched on why he's my favorite, which is he's always been like the light to Bruce's dark. And like Bruce is always the dark brooding, and Dick has always been like the light of that group. Like he's the one that pulls Bruce out of being a brooding, pain in the rear, and has kept that group going, and has always been like this positive force in a way that and I know some people are like they want their edgelord and Damien and but for me it's always been Dick because he is that positive.
Yeah. Despite
everything, he's always had that positive outlook, and I thought it's used here really, really well, and I really, really enjoyed it. The run as a whole. I love the additions to his world that were brought into this with the addition of Haley and the addition of the half sister, and just kind of the rebuilding of Bloodhaven as kind of his home, which it had kind of slipped away a little bit over the years. He was a little less focused in Bloodhaven. So I enjoyed all of this. So I'm glad that you found it and that you enjoyed it. That was cool. So.
Well, I'm glad my dad brought it with us for our summer vacation because I really enjoyed it, and I was really bummed that he didn't bring all of it with us.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah,
tease me.
Seriously?
So I will show you. So I do have the first half of the Omni, or the first Omni of the two, and I did want to show you before we went, is like, and it is a panel in the book that they adapted for the cover of Without the Dust Jacket, but this is the actual hardcover of the book. Is that panel with like, and it's early, I forget which issue it is, but it's like, and it looks like it's like just painted on the book, but yeah, it's just a super cool panel. So did want to share that because
no, that's beautiful. I like that. That's really pretty.
Yeah.
I did bring some covers. I really wanted to show this cover because it's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna put.
And you know how to make yourself? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I love this cover. Oh. With Dick Grayson driving.
And Bruce.
That is my favorite cover.
Yeah,
that's a good one. All of them. That is just the best. My dad, when he first bought it, so I hadn't read anything yet. He bought it, and he always shows me his covers that he loves. So he shows it to me, and I'm like, is he driving the Batmobile? My dad was like, yes, he is. And I loved it. And I love the art is beautiful. And just, he looks so happy. He's smiling. He's like, I get to drive, and Batman's in the back like,
Batman's being grumpy in the back. He's got his arms crossed, why did I pouting that he's not driving?
Yes. So that is my like all-time favorite cover of this series. Absolutely favorite.
So
did you have a favorite?
My favorite is probably like, it's actually on, because let's see if I can find it. I gotta remember which issue it is. It is, let's see here. I don't think it's that one. This issue. I don't remember I don't remember which number it is, but it's on here. It's this one with the two of them where they're on the roof. Like they use it for the inside flap, but I don't remember what number it is off the top of my head at the moment. But
oh yeah, I know that cover.
Like the two of them on the roof together. That's my favorite cover of the series.
Yeah.
So I love that one a lot. But there's a bunch of really good ones. There's a bunch of Redondos that are really, really good. And then Dan Moore does a bunch of them later that are like his B covers and stuff, which that one you had might have been a Moore. I can't remember. And those are all really, really good. So there's there's great covers for me in the series as a whole. I just don't remember what issue that is, but yeah. The first book, like the first issue is where that panel comes from. They use for the outside of the book. So I love that. I did one other question, like where we're talking about this, because you had the cover with Bruce in the back and him driving. Yeah. What did you think of how they handled their relationship during this? The whole, because we talked early about like he didn't go to him for advice, but then later Bruce comes in, they talk to him about how proud he is of what he's doing and like him covering for him at the end. What did you think about how they handled the Nightwing and Batman relationship?
I liked it. I felt like with Bruce and Dick, their relationship is always like they each have something to say, but they just won't say it to each other. No. I've always felt like it's like they both have so many things that if they just said it, everything would be better. But they're always like scared to say it to each other, or they just don't want to. And it makes things always more tense. So for Bruce to like finally say, like, I'm proud of you, and I really feel like you don't know that sometimes. Yeah. And I liked that. I felt like it really showed Bruce's character development. And you don't often see Bruce Wayne having like feelings, being as like emotional or vulnerable with his kids. So for him to be that way with Dick showed big improvement. Yeah. And I really liked how they handled it. And I loved it.
What you're talking about is where, because they talk about the fact that Alfred was always the one that would say the things that they wouldn't say to each other. And it's like, well, what would Alfred say for you now?
Yeah.
And he actually like says it. And so, I thought that was really well handled. So,
and I was happy that they got a moment to be like father and son. Like we got to see them. Because first we saw Alfred and Dick being like father and son. And then we got to see Bruce show like, I always like was very proud of you. And you're also like my kid as well. Yeah. Alfred and I like raised you. So I liked how they handled that. And I was happy that we got to see that. Because I think they always leave things unsaid, and they finally were able to say it, and it made me really happy.
So, me too.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
Was there anything else? Yeah, you look like you're reaching for another cover.
No, I think I showed the one that was my favorite already, but I like this one as well. I like this one just because I'll put myself up big.
That's a good one.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, the dog and
yes, Haley being there, and then all the Bat family members being there.
And I love Cass is just like in the background, like, I'm
yes,
sure lady.
yes, over here, and all their like faces. They all have different ones. Like Barbara's looking at Haley, Nightwing smiling, Tim is just happy to be there. Jason's just like death staring Batman. Batman's just like, why am I here?
Yes, completely.
And yeah, I like that. And then Damien is just like, I'm so sick of you guys. I don't want to be here anymore. I hate this. So I thought that was a good representation.
Yeah, we got the great panel when they're at the little party or where they celebrate where Dick's getting the award or whatever, and Damien's like, I put on a suit for you.
yes. That's another thing. I love Damien and Dick's relationship together as brothers. Yeah. I really feel like every writer that I've seen has done a great job of like having their relationship just be the best that it can be, and I loved it. Yeah. So I was very happy to see them interact more in this comic because I didn't know that Damien was going to be in it. And like I said, he's one of my favorites.
No.
So I liked how they handled that. But yeah, those are all my covers that I brought.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And those are my favorites.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's... Well, what are you doing? My dad's here on the side. He wanted to show this, by the way.
Is he telling us to wrap it up? We've gone too long. Oh.
He wanted to show you this.
Oh,
he brought it in very excited. He brought it in and did like a little dance and then handed it to me.
So, yeah. I mean, if you like Taylor, I think you'll really enjoy that. So.
Yeah. I think I read part of it.
I just need to make sure that JP is helping my kids want to read X-Men related comic books. We got to try to get some Marvel mutants in there.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. If you don't want to read mutants, I can get you something. I can recommend something else.
No, I have read X-Men. There's not as much X-Men as I have DC.
Yeah. So
you can be a DC fan. I'll still love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, just in terms of if you enjoyed Taylor, to me, that's his second best. That's his other best, like, story arc with a character. So that was a character I didn't know anything about before I read that, and I really, really enjoyed it. So
I don't know if I've read Tom Taylor's version, but I do remember reading. Yeah, my dad's shaking his head. I do remember reading NX23 storyline. I do remember reading one about her, so I do know some background on her, and I've always really liked her. And I kind of think the name X23 is kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think that's a cool superhero name. I mean, it's sad because it's her not great name because the background of it is not great. But
this is her as the all new Wolverine.
Yeah, this is her as the Wolverine.
Yes.
So, which is another really cool name.
Yeah.
You have to be a superhero named Wolverine. I mean, come on. But yeah, I think we're getting to the end here.
I think so. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
If Tom Taylor does any more Nightwing, I will 100% be reading it.
Yes, for sure.
And I'm going to read those annuals.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my dad hunt them down. So I'll read those.
Well, one of them is, there's two of them that were part of the run. One of them is a story with him and Jason, with him and Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good story. And then just focuses on their relationship. So you get interactions of those two. And then the other one is actually all about Bee. So it's more background on Bee, and it's like a completely just a Beatrice-focused story. So
I think because I remember seeing covers similar to that, so I know my dad has them. I just thought I saw them and just thought like, oh, that's not part of this, and didn't read them.
Yeah.
So I'll go and read them later, and But I hope. I mean, I love Jason as well.
Yeah. So I want to say thanks, Charlie. This was fun. I always want to talk Nightwing, so I appreciate you doing this with me and being brave enough to like kick him out and say like, "I can't." So get out of here. So I appreciate you.
Happy to do so. Happy to give everyone a little break for a while. And thank you for joining.
Yeah.
It's nice to get to talk to someone besides my dad about this stuff because he's
stuck with another old guy, but
a better old guy.
Well, yeah, of course.
So my dad's gonna help me end this because I need help with this stuff.
Okay.
You just say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. And tune into another video. It won't be as fun because it'll be him, but maybe you'll see me again.
Yeah.